Bring the checks over here cause it cashless. Tried to put me in a box, but I'm cashless.
But I'm Cassius.
Oh, the vibes. Hey, Jay.
I'm sorry, H. We was having a conversation off air. I'm still tripping on it. But go ahead, H. I'm sorry.
We're gonna get to it because it's gonna be good. It's gonna be good. But Jay, I don't mean to reopen old wounds, but are we done with the 90s? Because everywhere I look, in every corner of the sports world, I'm seeing that conversation. It's everywhere. And then I saw a TikTok. Of you. It was like, did you see it? It was like 2 slides. Something about like, we're sorry, Uncle. Like, we're here for you.
Right. It's crazy, right?
Like right? 200,000 likes. I was dead.
And a lot of these people, they don't even know what they're fighting for.
No.
Just so you know that we done with the 90s dude, he actually came on.
Yeah.
He actually came on a panel. Yeah. He did. He came on a panel.
We did.
And how was that?
That's all I have to say, Tom.
Okay. We have to go.
That's really all I have to say about that.
It was bad.
One of the rebuttals he said to me was, the ottoman, whatever you sitting on, did you buy that in the 90s? Either you broke or you bought that in the 90s. That's what he said. That was what's up, young fella. That was some of his logic. Either what you, and then he said that no, it's all satire. And then I explained to him, did you see any of the videos that I sent you? Not that I sent you. Did you see any of the videos that I made about Jordan having a weak hand? He couldn't go left. Okay, this is really a waste of my time.
What I don't understand is there's 3 components to this that I love and hate. The one that I is shocking is how gullible, and I'm going to get to something to prove to it in a second, how gullible people in this world are. He openly admits it's satire. I'm doing it as a joke. I am trolling. And these fans, these kids that are so obsessed with proving, and no offense, because you have this guy too for different reasons, mind you, they're so obsessed with LeBron is the GOAT, and they're trying every different angle to try and force people. Just so you know, nobody who's done with the 90s is changing and all of a sudden to say, oh, Jordan's the GOAT, because that's really what this is about. And no one who believes Jordan is the GOAT is this changing their opinion. They're not looking at this guy and going, oh my God, this guy watched one finals game and he tracked all the shots and 75% of his turnovers were going to his left. Oh, then they're absolutely right. Oh, Jordan can't be the GOAT. It's got to be. No one's changing their mind on either side. So that the gullible part is what's hilarious is here's a guy who's saying it's satire. And for those that don't know, go look up what it means. Go look up what it means because you probably don't. He's admitting it's satire, but hey, good for him. He started a business because he was done with the 90s for like 2 years and no one paid him any attention. The second he went, we done with the 90s. And then there's some other people, I'm not going to say their names because they don't deserve it, stole his bit. Mm-hmm. It's like Steve Harvey stealing a comedy routine from somebody else. Shout out Cat Williams for calling him out, and you pawning it off as their own. There's other guys who did it. So shout out to, I think his name is Peak 34, Peak 43. I don't know, is Peak something. Peak Town, which he probably stole from.
Just another copycat.
Copycat, right? And he's doing satire, and these guys are believing it. Here's the one good thing that came out of it. Here's the one that people don't even understand. A bunch of people have said, we're done with the 90s. I actually went back and watched games. Thank you for admitting it was the first time you went back and watched games.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you, because those games have been around. 1999 was 25 years ago. Thank you for admitting it's the first time you've gone back and watched games. Here's the other thing that I know for a fact. 48 minutes per game. If they watched 10 games, that's 480 minutes. Do you know how many games are in an NBA season?
Not from one team, the whole league.
Not from one team.
The entire league is playing 82 games. Depending on it depends on what time we're talking about, because we're in a 30-team league now, right? So I guess 25 years ago, we didn't have as many.
No, yeah. What team started? Yeah, it was 30. It's 30 since I think Toronto and Vancouver came, and that was, I believe, was 30.
Right. And then they moved to Memphis, right? So we didn't have any expansion. In fact, we lost the team. We lost Seattle, as a matter of fact.
No, Seattle went to OKC.
They went to Oklahoma City. We didn't lose.
Now, we did get the Charlotte Bobcats, but they became, so maybe 29, 30 at the end of the day.
So if you times 30 times 82. That's how many. That there you go, H. That's how many games are played in a season.
Times 25, I guess, right? If you're really saying that I guess has it always been 82? Didn't that get shifted?
It was 70 something back in the
80.
70s.
Oh, that was the 80s.
Yeah,
it was 80.
Up to 82.
Yeah, and it went up to 82. So it was 80 when Chamberlain was playing, and then it moved up to 82. So that's why the Celtics was playing the Sixers like 19 or like 25 times. Something crazy. Yeah,
which is crazy.
Yeah, they was playing them like 25 times.
So there's approximately, it says, an NBA season typically consists of 82 games for all 30 teams, spanning approximately 6 months, totaling a whopping 2,460 matches. That's per season. So I just want to do some math for you, not including the playoffs, which I believe people watch the playoffs. So 2,460 times 48 minutes, okay, times 10 years is 1.18 million minutes. So I'm going to divide it by 60. That's 19,000 hours. I don't believe you're done with the 90s, because I don't think you've watched 19,000 hours of tape.
You might not even been alive for 19,000 hours.
The thing is, though, when you start digging into that argument, you have to say that for every single take you have, which maybe we should do that more. But if you say, well, I'm a anti-LeBron, then you have to have watched every single LeBron minute ever played.
Not every single. Okay, 19,000. There's a guy who said he watched one. He said, I picked one game randomly and charted out. So what does that prove? Nothing.
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 That's not statistics based at all.
Yeah, my point is this: if that's what I like about We Done with the 90s, is that some people have gone back. Now they've gone back looking. Just so you know, if you go looking for things, you'll find them. You'll find them. If you want to find that, what's his name? Brian Scalabrine, Brian the White Mamba.
The White Mamba.
I bet you I could put together a 2-minute tape that makes him look like Jokic.
Yeah.
I can also put together a 2-minute tape that makes him look like Michael Ruffin. He's the.
I can put together a 2-minute tape to make Steph Curry look like he can't shoot. He can't hit the side of a ball.
Like he's the worst shooter in the league.
I can definitely do that with Steph Curry. Just like I can put together a tape. Just like I can put together clips of Paul George being Paul George. I can put together a tape of Russell Westbrook throwing the ball in the second row. I can put together a tape of James Harden with the Olay defense. I can put together a tape with Damian Lillard looking like he can't cover 7th graders. I can put together tapes like that. But does that mean that I'm done with the 2010s or the 2020s? No, that doesn't mean that, because it's just a snippet of what actually happened during that time. A snippet of it. I mean, I just heard Kyrie Irving say today, this is really interesting. This is what I was laughing at earlier today. But I just heard Kyrie Irving say after his buzzer beater that I watch a ton of tape on when I was growing up. So I'm thinking to myself, Irv, can you imagine all of that tape that you saw? Because I'm pretty sure that your dad watching your game probably had you in front of the TV and you was watching Kenny Anderson, and you were watching Rod Strickland, and you were watching Isaiah Thomas. You were watching Walt Frazier, and you were watching some of the better ball handlers in NBA history. So this is what's going to happen, Irv. We're going to pack all of that tape up, and you're not going to get to see any of that. You're just going to have to figure it out on your own. And in 20 years, 25 years from now, when you're long gone from the NBA, all of your footage, we're going to pack that up, and we're going to get rid of that. And whoever hears your name, they're going to say Kyrie Irving was garbage. And then if they happen to find some footage of you where you threw the ball out of bounds with your left hand, when you missed the left hand layup, if they magically find some footage of you when you missed the layup with your left hand, or you threw the ball out of bounds with your left hand, or you smoked the layup with your left hand, Kyrie Irving didn't have a left. I wonder how that's going to go over with you, Irv, because I'm sure it's not. And this is the kind of narrative that we have going on today in media. It's like this right here, which is incredible.
If I may, when asked about LeBron, if LeBron was in my era, he would be just as dominant as he is today. Honestly, he's the GOAT, Wilt Chamberlain. Can you believe Wilt Chamberlain called LeBron James the GOAT? That's such a ringing endorsement. No? Why does no one believe
it? Here's the problem with that logic, Tone. First of all, where did you get that information from? Let's start there. Like, who's the guy who put that out there? Because I'm down to flame him.
That was Sean Ellie.
Yes, I'm down to flame Sean because he's in
the GOAT James. He's in the GOAT James Facebook group.
Yeah, I'm down to flame him because why am I down to flame him? First and foremost, sir, there's no way possible Chamberlain could have said that. And the reason why there's no way possible that Chamberlain could have said that, because LeBron James showed up in the NBA in 2003. I don't know if you noticed, my man, but that was 4 years after Chamberlain died. He was already gone.
Take it a step further. Wilt Chamberlain, for those that don't know, this is the only time I think Haley's going to let me talk about Wilt anymore. Wilt Chamberlain died in October, specifically October of 1999. LeBron James played his first high school game for St. Mary's. St. Mary's, is that where it was? St. Mary's? St. Vincent. In December of 1999. So Wilt, on his deathbed, 2 months before, Wilt's incredible. Scored 100 points. Can bench for 500 pounds, can jump from the free throw line without taking a step and dunk the ball. He's done it again. Hold on.
Don't leave out Tone. I killed the mountain lion too with my bare hands. I did that.
Right.
Killed the mountain lion with my bare hands.
From his deathbed, 2 months before LeBron even played one high school, not NBA, high school minute, proclaimed him the GOAT, or came back. Maybe he came back. Maybe he came back from the dead. I wouldn't doubt. He's kind of like Jesus. If he could do all the other things,
I can't believe this is incredible, yo. That somebody would actually put that out. That Wilt now, this is what I'm talking about when I say, and I said this earlier today, like when you want people to take you seriously. And when you want people to take you seriously, you got to do your homework. And it can't just be because I want to be seen. Because what's going to happen is people are going to do their homework on you. And the curtain's going to be lifted on you. And if you're a fraud, we're going to find out about it. That's going to happen. So when you say stuff like Wilt Chamberlain said that James is the GOAT, you clearly are a fraud.
But will they? Will they? Because, for example, I saw the Jordan has no left thing. And I said, hey, like, just honestly, just jump on YouTube for 3 seconds. And I said, here's 2 minutes of him literally going left, dribbling left. Yeah. One of his greatest highlights. And they said, he couldn't do more than 3 dribbles. One of his best highlights ever. He's dribbling with his left hand. He goes one way, comes back, the baseline, goes back again. It's like 6 dribbles, comes back and dunks it on Patrick Ewing. Go watch. That's all dribbling with his left along the baseline and then tiptoeing the sideline and then dunking on Patrick Ewing. Like, it doesn't take long to disprove that. And you know what the comment said? Oh, well, no, he still had no left. I'm like, well, okay, he can finish with his left. I don't care. He can't dribble with his left. Here he is dribbling with his left. He couldn't dribble more than 3 times. Here he is dribbling more than 3 times. He still couldn't do it. This guy proved it. He said he saw that one game and he had 8 turnovers with his left hand. I go, he only had 3 turnovers in the game. How do you have 8 turnovers in one quarter? Like, it just they won't believe it. So there are people who are going to look at this Wilt Chamberlain thing and say, see, Wilt called him the GOAT. And you know why I believe that to be true? 1, because I see it every day. 2, I see guys posting, look, Jason Kidd said he's the GOAT. No, what Jason Kidd said, I'm going to find it hard not to say he's the best when it's all said and done. Well, that's not saying he's the GOAT. He's saying I think it's going to be hard not to say that when it's all said and done. It's not all said and done. Another guy said, yeah, he might be. Oh, yep. See, endorsement. He might be. Well, yeah, he might be. That's not an endorsement saying he is. And then I ask the question, and then it always goes crickets. I say, so if you believe these 5 NBA players, because they say here's 5 NBA greats, I go, what about these 20 who say it's Kobe? What about these 20 who say it's Russell? What about these 20 who say it's Mike? Oh, they don't count. Well, okay, so just admit that it doesn't matter what anybody says. You just can believe what you want to believe. And just last thing on the we that done with the 90s, Haley, if I may. That's the third thing. I mentioned there was 3 things, so I mentioned the 2. That's the third. The third is I ask, you want to stop the we the 90s guys? If they're bothering you, because I know they come into your comments quite a bit, Jay. I just always ask them, who's your top 10? And they get quiet real quick.
That's how we get to the bottom of that.
They get quiet.
Because Bron is up there?
No, because when you ask who's in your top 10.
There's plenty of guys from the 90s in their top 10.
7 of the 10 were either played in the 90s. Now, some of them are, Kobe, Shaq, whatever, who played into the 2000s. But those guys, Shaq started in 92. So let's by
the way, Tone, let's make sure we clear on that.
I know he won his chips in the 2000s, but he started in the 90s. And just so we're clear, the first 3-4 years of the 2000s were more like the 90s than they are today's game.
Right.
Like, again, go back and watch some games. But if you look at it, 7 of the 10, if not more, played in the 90s or before. So I always scratch my head. If you're done with the 90s, you got to be done with the 80s, the 70s, the 60s. So you can't have just eliminate Bird, eliminate Magic, eliminate Wilt, Russell, Hakeem, Shaq, Kobe, Jordan. Who's left? I want to see that top 10. I want to see that.
Curry, KD, Kawhi Leonard,
LeBron,
LeBron, James Harden.
If James Harden's in your top 10 all time, you've got a major issue.
Kyrie Irving. Yeah, these are the guys that'll ultimately be in your top 10. Yeah. That's who it is.
That's crazy. I got Ant. I got Ant at number 9.
Yep. This is what's going on. This is exactly what's going on.
I'll probably have Jokic, Luka.
Mm-hmm. Today, by the way, Luka in year 6. Luka in year 6 is a top 10 player all time.
Yeah.
Joel Embiid is a top 10 player all time.
It's not about winning, it's about skill.
It's pretty incredible to think about how this has influenced people, right? Because if you think about the 90s, Tone, and you think about the guys from the 2000s and the 2010s, who influenced them? Like, who was Kobe Bryant's guy?
Oh, I know.
Who is James's guy, right? Who is Luka's guy? Who is Dirk's guy? So all of these guys from the 2000s, Kevin Garnett got his game from somebody else. He talks about Malone all the time. He talks about Barkley all the time. And by the way, Kevin Garnett showed up in 1995. So be clear. Like, Kevin Garnett, I know what you're looking at when you see Kevin Garnett in Boston. He showed up in 1995. So he played half the decade of the 90s.
Yes, but you don't know. Once the bell tolled on New Year's Eve and became January 1st, 2000s, all the NBA players miraculously evolved and became players like today. See, that's what you don't know about how the world works.
Like Tim Duncan showed up in 97.
Speaking of skill, I got a beef with you.
Mm-mm.
And I don't know if this clip is true because I didn't watch the whole episode. I only saw a clip. They were asking what generation or what era or whatever has the most skilled players. Mm-hmm. And I saw, no surprise, Jalen going, oh, that's not even a question. It's today. Mm-hmm. And I saw Mars saying they clear. Damo, well, you saw those guys couldn't go left. It's clearly today. Mm-hmm. And then I saw you say today and nothing else. And with no pushback whatsoever. And I want to say to all of those people, if I'm going to be the bad guy, I'm going to be that bad guy. It's not that simple. It's not that simple. Because are players today more skilled at some things? They're more skilled at shooting threes, yeah? Are they more skilled at shooting free throws?
No.
Because the percentage is the same. League average is still around 75, 76%. I'm sorry, 1%. 1% doesn't make a difference.
Now remember, Tone, when we had this conversation, this was about ball handling.
Okay.
That's what this was This was about
That's
ball
what I say. I only
handling.
saw that clip, so I don't know what it was
No,
about.
this was I fight tooth and nail about it's. There's so many other things. Yes, post moves, rebounding, defense. I fight tooth and nail on that. When we were having that conversation, we were talking about how skilled guys are at ball handling.
Okay.
How skilled guys are. We weren't just talking about we weren't just talking about guys being more skilled overall, because no, they're not.
Are they more skilled? Are they more skilled at ball handling
today? I think so.
Or are they more creative?
More skilled.
More
I think
skilled?
they're more skilled. I think they're more skilled. I think they're more creative, and I think they're able to showcase that more today than they were back then, because the game was different.
Yeah.
So I can't.
I agree.
I can't. They can showcase that. Isaiah Thomas could throw the ball between his legs 2, 3, 4 times, but he wasn't allowed to do that as much because we got to run an offense.
So let me ask you. Let me ask you
your favorite thing, Fluent, the carry. Like you see that all the time.
I was about to say. So let me ask you: if Zeke, and when I say Zeke, I mean Isaiah Thomas of the Detroit Pistons. If you don't know, so if Zeke could carry the ball and put his hand under the ball completely and go
run with it, basically run with it like John Morant does.
You don't think he would be? He's already looked at. I believe everyone has Zeke as a top 10 ball handler all time. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
So if he was able to carry the ball, how far up that list would he go?
To the top of the list. He'd be up there with guys like Kyrie Irving and guys like Kenny
Anderson.
So
when I ask the question, are they? I'm not being an old head when I say I'm asking a question. Are they, or do they have rules? Like, just think about it. Bob Cousy, the Houdini of the hardwood, wasn't allowed to dribble the ball even a little bit off to the side. He had to dribble directly on top of the ball. And he did. Go back and watch what he did, right? With one hand too, mind you, right? He was, although he did shoot some hooks with his left. With one, imagine if he could even just go to the side of the ball, forget underneath. If he was already doing that with having to do it like this, try to do that, by the way. Have you ever tried to do that? Just go in the gym and dribble the top?
I could never control the ball doing that.
So that's what I'm saying. Are they more skilled? I say, just so we're clear, I believe yes. But I believe they're making it seem like the skill gap is this. I believe the skill gap is this, but the creative is this. And the rules are this, and that's why it seems this big of a gap, is because they are more skilled. I'm agreeing with that. They are more skilled. The rules are more laxed, and they saw the other guy do it. If I never saw Jordan do an in and out move, I never would have tried an in and out move. Right. And now you can carry the ball, so you can go all and bring it all the way back. Like it's phenomenal what they could do now. But if you never saw it, you wouldn't know.
But with that being said, the talent pool is better though right now, both of you.
I was about to say that, because we got to accept the game. We got to accept the fact that the game has evolved and guys have gotten better in terms of talent. Guys' footwork has gotten better, right? Not only has their footwork gotten better, I think a lot of these guys' footwork. I think a lot of these guys' footwork has gotten better. And I'm just talking. I'm just talking about
lessons.
Who's going to Olajuwon for? Who's going to Olajuwon for? Okay,
Kobe,
Giannis. Okay, that was okay. But again, we're talking about Hakeem Olajuwon.
Joel Embiid went to him.
Well, okay, and that's today, Tone. Like they was like
Giannis went to him.
Right, Giannis went to him, but I'm talking about James went to him years ago. Wasn't like James just went to him 2 or 3 years ago. James went to him years ago. So these guys see that, and it's like anything, Tone. Yo, Hakeem Olajuwon is teaching footwork. The line's around the corner. Absolutely, the line's around the corner. So, hell yes. And this is years ago when they found out that Olajuwon was teaching footwork. So, of course, when you go to him, and of course, when other people see it, Stoudemire, Dwight Howard, these guys see him, other guys are going to pick up from watching that, okay, this is the footwork. Same logic with guys like Kyrie Irving. Now, I'm not going to be able to handle the ball like Kyrie Irving, but maybe I can understand his footwork. Maybe I can understand how he gets to spots. Because, again, this is basically the future of basketball. That's how you understand the game. That's how the game evolves. That's how you get better. As opposed to, I'm just going to go with how I play. Well, I got to learn from somebody. And
that's my point. That's why I don't think footwork is better. And like I say, I agree. I'm agreeing. The talent pool, let's be clear. Talent is something you're born with. Okay. Skill is something you can work on. So the talent pool, I think there's more people, but I don't think we've evolved as a
that
human.
alone makes it more. There's more people from.
There's more people that are talented. It doesn't make them better, though, and I'll prove that point in a second. But my point about footwork is because kids go to AAU. What's the point of AAU basketball? Is it to teach kids or is it to win games?
It's
both.
First of all, AAU is amateur. AAU stands for Amateur Athletic Union. That's what it is. You're an amateur. As an amateur, I am being taught the game. Well, it's not like that anymore.
You know that it's not like that. They're trying to win games because there's money involved. At the NCAA level, are coaches more concerned with teaching the game or winning games so that they can keep their job and get paid millions? Are the best players going and staying, or are they one and dones? So my point is, when you go into AAU and it's about winning games, when you go to college and it's about winning games and just doing your 1 year and getting out so you can go into the NBA, the fundamentals of basketball, like footwork, positioning, I think those have deteriorated. And to your point, because kids are coming out and there's a bigger talent pool, the talent, the athleticism, the skill level, because of that, watching the history of the game and starting earlier, right? I think they're getting by. They're getting by with athleticism, talent, and not necessarily fundamentals like footwork. And that's why you see guys like Luka and Jokic who aren't the most athletic, but guys, they are more skilled, and they go watch their feet. Go watch their feet. Their footwork is better. And that's why, even though they're half the speed of these other guys, right? You see Luka do a spin move in slow motion and he gets open for a layup. It's because he's taking, one thing that was great about Jordan, he never had a wasted step, right? Watch his footwork. It was phenomenal. I think as a whole, there's exceptions, but I think as a whole, I think we've lost. I think we've lost some of those pieces that made it beautiful. And I'm not saying everybody. I'm just saying I think there's more focus on athleticism than footwork.
Well, I do understand that there is more focus on athleticism because athleticism leads to highlights. Highlights lead to television revenue, and television revenue leads to more money. All right, I can definitely get with that logic. But when we get into spaces where guys don't know how to play the game, we can see that. And then we can see that these guys are pros, and a lot of these guys want to work on their games. That's why they get better. That's why James Harden isn't the same player that he was in 2015 that he was in 2018. That's why Steph Curry isn't the same player that he was in 2010 that he was in 2008. Okay, so let's take it a little bit further.
Hayes, because I want him to kill me some minutes with the Lakers.
I think that's a little bit different, Tone, because those guys now you're talking about guys being put in better situations, because there's plenty of guys who are in situations where they don't have the opportunity to play. They're improving their game, but they don't have the opportunity to play. They're being played out of position. In the process of them being played out of position, or not just being played out of position, not expanding their game, people think that they can't play, when in reality, this guy can actually play, and you're not recognizing the work that you're not recognizing the work that's being put in with his game because he's on the wrong crew. A prime example would be Malik Monk. Malik Monk actually improved his game. But the fact that he was playing with the Lakers and the fact that he was on a team with LeBron James, who loved him, by the way, and did everything he could to help expand his game, that didn't work in Los Angeles. Well, he gets to Sacramento where he's basically unlocked. You see the fact that he can shoot the basketball. You see the fact that he can handle the ball. All of that stuff was going on when he was in Los Angeles. That didn't just magically appear over 2 years. He didn't just go from this to this. He was already working on that. And it just so happened that we saw it 2 years later, and we saw the after effects of it. There's plenty of guys in the league with better footwork. There's plenty of guys in the league with better ball handling. But the fact that we don't get to see them that much because they're in systems where they don't get to play. Lynn Sanity is a prime example of that. There's plenty of guys who saw Lynn Sanity be like, yo, I'm that good. It's just that he got an opportunity to play, and I didn't.
Until Carmelo got healthy and put a kibosh on that. But yeah.
Put the kibosh on that. So I do think that these guys
is good today as it's ever been.
Not as it's ever been. I do think that these guys have improved, but there are plenty of guys that I've seen in the game that I think to myself, like, does this guy actually know how to play basketball? There are guys that I've watched, and I'm thinking to myself, I'm not sure you actually know how to play basketball. I mean, don't get me wrong. I think you're really good with the ball. I think you're really good at being able to shoot a pull-up jump shot. I can see that sort of stuff. But there's a difference between being able to do that and being what's called a hooper, actually just knowing how to play basketball. What I equated to Tony Montana from Scarface. Scarface did not know how to read. He was pretty smart, though. He could get by, but he didn't know how to read, actually. And the fact that he didn't know how to read, that kind of hampers you. When I look at these guys that play basketball and I see a guy who doesn't know how to properly set a screen. For example, Wemby. Wemby doesn't know how to set a screen yet. I think he's going to improve at that. Wemby doesn't know how to protect the paint yet. He's doing it off the strength that I'm just bigger, and I'm just bigger than a lot of you guys. I cover a lot more space. I don't know how to defend yet. I think Wemby is a prime example of a guy who doesn't know how to play yet, but he's going to learn. There are plenty of guys in the league who've been in the league for a long time who still, I'm not sure, know how to play the game. I heard Amari Stoudemire say, I think he was in like year 9 or 10, where he said, nobody ever taught me how to play defense. I'm thinking to myself, are you in the league for that long and nobody ever taught you how to play defense? You didn't learn in high school. You didn't learn in AAU. You didn't learn in grammar school. Either you didn't learn it, because I'm sure somebody taught you how to get in the stance. I'm sure somebody taught you how to slide your feet. I'm sure somebody taught you how to keep your hands busy. I'm sure people taught you
whether he listened or not is the other question.
Difference. That's the difference. You know the concept of defense. The question is did you prepare yourself to improve at it? And a lot of these guys that I watch, I'm not sure that they actually know how to play basketball.
That's why I give LeBron a lot of credit, because he came straight out of high school where, like, I doubt that they were teaching him the fundamentals of the game. Skips college, comes right to the pros. Again, the expectation is win. And he went off every summer, and you know that because you can see it in the progression year by year, whether it was with individual coaches on his own, whatever, and learned and honed his skills. So I give him a lot of credit for that, because he never had that, like Jordan had Dean Smith, right? There's guys that had those opportunities to learn from great coaches. He never had that. So I give him respect for that.
Now, what my rebuttal to that, Tone, is it possible, which I think it's actually possible, so I'm asking you, is it possible that, maybe I'm just too advanced for this? A prime example would be Isaiah Thomas. When Isaiah Thomas left Indiana, he actually didn't want to leave Indiana. It was Bob Knight who said, it's time for you to go. There's nothing more that I can teach you here. There's nothing more that I can teach you here. Everything that you need to know, you've already learned it. So James may very well have been just more advanced than the rest of those guys, not just in high school, but in college too. When I think about James playing at the college level, there are certain guys, James, Garnett, Bryant, just guys off the top of my head that I'm thinking about, Zion Williamson. Those guys didn't need to go to school. That would have been a waste of time for them going to school. Maybe socially it would have helped Bryant. Maybe it might have helped Kevin Garnett socially, but for the most part, in terms of basketball, Kevin Garnett would have been wasting his time going to college. There was no reason for him to be in school. There was no reason for Kobe Bryant to be in school. There was no reason for James to be in school. I'm watching Zion Williamson and I'm thinking, there's no reason for you to be in school. So with that being said, Tone, the question that I have is, a lot of these guys, like the guys that I just mentioned, is it fair to say that they just too advanced for what's going on there? It's not that these guys aren't good coaches. Is it just that maybe you're just a little bit like a gifted fifth grader? Like you should be in the 8th grade. What are you doing in the 5th grade?
Yeah, no. Yeah, quite possibly that they've outpaced their coach's ability to coach. Yeah, 100%. That's possible. I do want to, because you brought up Kobe, so I just want to pause for a second to say to Kobe's mom and dad, shame on you. You should be embarrassed of yourselves. You should be embarrassed of yourselves. Have you seen they've put up his first NBA championship ring that he gifted them?
They're selling it?
Yeah. Can you believe that?
What?
They put the first ring, I believe the 2000 NBA championship ring that he gifted his dad, they put it on auction to sell it. You should be ashamed of yourselves.
You know what that tells me? That tells me that there's a money issue.
But how are they blowing through it? He literally left them, or at least his wife, a ton. Everything.
I'm not surprised, guys, because this is the same parents. I don't know if you remember this, that Kobe had to sue them because he had left a bunch of his stuff in their basement,
and they sold his
jerseys, memorabilia, whatever, like from high school, and they started selling it off, and they're like, "Well, it's possession, it's ours, so we're selling." He's like, "No, I was storing it there." Like,
right.
I don't know
I realize.
the parents, but
I did not know
but
that.
that is sad. That is sad.
Oh man, that's and the question that needs to be answered is this a money situation? And if it's a money situation, what type of money situation? Because you shouldn't have to auction off things in order to be okay. I mean, your son unfortunately passed away, but he passed away and his estate is worth well over $600 million.
I don't know if he left anything to them.
Yeah,
Even if that's true, right? Okay, so if that's the case, then is there a problem? Well, we already know that his parents and his wife did not get along. They did not approve of that. So is this a situation where she may very well be thinking, "Yo, I'm not going to involve myself with you guys financially"? And if that's the case, then it makes sense for them to do something like that, as opposed to them just doing it because, I don't want this anymore. Wait a minute. Like, why are you doing this?
I mean, if it's like, I was thinking, or give it to, your grandkids, or like if it's grief and you just don't want to look at items, like everybody's different, but you could give it to somebody in the family. Like that sounds wild.
You can give it to me. I'll put it in the case right here. Right there, and it'll be on display.
Or a better idea. How about you keep it? He gave it to you. How about that? He gave it to you for a reason. Mom, Dad, I want you to have this.
You know what? Just call me. Call me. I'll buy it for you. Don't auction it to some. Just I'll buy it for
Mom. I want Dad. This is what I did.
You want to get to? So
look what I did, Mom and Dad, and I want you to have this. Like that's supposed to go in.
Fluent Junior gives me his first championship ring. I'm telling you right now, it's never getting sold.
It better not. It better go in that box that they put you in when you're gone. That's where it better go.
Absolutely. Okay, super chat from Reggie Reg. I hate this more skilled argument. Every time I see 4 steps after picking up the dribble, carries, doubles, Euro steps, etc., I die a little inside.
Yeah.
Facts.
Like, what is a gather step, H? What is that? What the hell is a gather step? What the hell is that?
I
don't know what that is, Tone.
You know what it is? It's a way to let them get away with what they were letting them get away with anyways, which is travel.
Gather step? What the hell is a gather step?
Hey, listen, if it wasn't for a gather step, the Raptors don't beat the Sixers in Game 7 there. So let's keep that gather step.
Because Leonard doesn't get away with that. No, he doesn't.
Oh, no.
Leonard does not get away with that.
Listen,
no, he doesn't.
The rest of the world, with the exception of the NBA, and I mean the rest of the world, with the exception of the NBA, at every level plays by FIBA rules. And by FIBA rules, that is a travel all day, every day. Yes, I know he traveled at the end too. Thanks, buddy.
Is he listening?
Yeah, he was saying he traveled at the end too. He actually traveled at the beginning of that play and at the end of that play.
Good knowledge. Well, I mean,
listen, if you didn't call it, it didn't happen.
Tone is one of those guys. Like, if you didn't catch me doing it, I didn't do it. Jordan
didn't push off. LeBron didn't goaltend. Kawhi didn't travel. Even though all 3 of them did. It didn't get called, so it didn't happen.
That was definitely a goaltend on Victor Oladipo. 100% that was.
No, not on Oladipo. On Iguodala.
That was not a goaltend.
Yes, it was.
The one on Oladipo, we gotta go back and look at that. That was definitely a goaltend.
Let me read you this just quickly, because you tried to challenge me on this. So let me just read
Sean too?
No, this is not from Sean. This is from the NBA. And I'm going to read this to you because now, like it's okay to admit things if they're true. Like I said, like I admitted, Kawhi traveled. Trap the ball against the face. What is a goaltend? This is from the NBA. Rule 11, basket interference and goaltending. Trap the ball. Trap is the key word there. The ball against the face of the backboard after it has been released. To be a trapped ball, 3 elements must exist simultaneously. The hand, the ball, and the backboard must all occur at the same time. Batted ball against the backboard is not trapped.
Right.
So
if he smacked it against the glass and it came off the glass, what I can't do is I can't stick it on the glass. I can't do that.
And
And
as you
that's
can
what he
see,
did.
as you can see right here, by rule, he's actually goaltending 1 because he's touching the rim, and that's an automatic goaltend. 2, his hand, the ball, and the backboard are all touching at the exact same time. So by rule, it's a goaltend. But for me, it is not a goaltend because they didn't call it. It is not a travel because they didn't call it. It's not a push-off because they didn't call it. But if we want to get specific, there's actually 2 goaltends on this most iconic play of his defensive career. It's a goaltend.
Did he hit the rim, Tom?
Yeah, he did.
He definitely trapped the ball 100%. I did not know that rule. I did not know that rule existed in, like, I know because I've seen a lot of times where guys go for dunks and get the shot blocked and the ball is trapped on the glass. I didn't know that was a goaltend. You can't do that.
And this is why it's crazy.
Now you're more fluent.
And this is why it's crazy. Most people say, and most even refs believe, it's if the ball touches the backboard first and then the offensive player touches it, everyone knows that's a clear goaltend, right? If it's off the backboard first and then you touch it, goaltend. What they don't know, and this is why I find it interesting, because I tell people, they're like, but the ref didn't call it, or the player didn't know. There are a lot of rules that the refs don't even know, because some of them are very up for interpretation is probably the best way to put it. And so they give them the leeway to call it as they see it. But a lot of players, a lot of refs don't know all the rules. Like that one. Like I always thought too, it was if it touches the backboard first and then you hit it, it's a goaltend. And obviously the rim. Everybody knows if you touch the rim, it's a goaltend. But I didn't know the trapped one either until I was having a discussion about it and said, oh, let me look it up. And that's right out of the NBA rule book. The trapped part, which I never knew. Knew.
Because I've actually blocked shots on the glass, Tone. I've done that before and blocked it and snatched it off the glass. That's a goaltend. So
I've never done that.
I have done that before. Yes, I was in a lot of gray hairs ago.
In your heyday.
I could get off the ground, and so I've seen Ben Wallace smack it on the glass and grab it off the glass. That's a goaltend.
Now, technically, if you hit the ball first, though, and then it hits the backboard, like as long as it's not all at the exact same time touching, you're fine. So I've seen people block it off the backboard, but they're not. They don't trap it. So the trap, and that's why it's so tough in real.
So your hand has to be parallel to the glass.
Here's the backboard. Here's the ball. Here's my hand. If all 3 are touching, goaltend. If it goes like this, even a little bit off, it's not. But if all 3 are like that at any point,
so if the ball hits and then you come up with your hand, that's not a goaltend?
No, if the ball hits first, yes.
Yeah. The only time
that's like a split second, though.
Yeah, I was gonna say, and that happens all the time.
Yeah.
The only time it's technically not a goaltend is if you hit it and then it hits the backboard and bounces off. That's really the only time it's not a goaltend.
That is not a goaltend.
Okay, I guess that's what we see more. That's what we see more.
You see in James's in real time, he smacks the ball, it's up against the backboard, and there's like a split second where you see where he's pinned the ball up against the backboard. That's technically a goaltend. Technically. Yeah. Wasn't called, so it didn't happen.
Okay.
All
right.
You just listen.
Well, speaking of skilled players, did you guys get to see the Mavs Nuggets game where Kyrie ended with a pretty special move? It was exciting. I mean, look, I've had my doubts when it comes to Kyrie, especially the last couple seasons. But I do want to credit him. And that was during Ramadan where he was, fasting and, he seems to actually play better, I would say. But so all that he did, Nuggets were tied. And then he went on to get that shot and win the game for them. And of course, the narratives always flow. Whenever a player has these big moments, then we have all the narratives of that player that have ever existed and blah, blah, blah. But one of the ones I was seeing is, of course, is Kyrie one of the most, or is he the most skilled player? And I do want to take it back to the 90s and the 80s and all the years that you guys have seen, because I don't know if we've talked specifically about who your guys' most skilled player ever is. So, or if that's a top 3, then drop those as well. And Jay, who would you say are your top 3 or your number 1?
Most skilled players. I mean, being the most skilled player it's up for interpretation, because again, we're talking about on both sides of the basketball. How good of a ball handler are you? How good are you at shooting free throws? How good are you as a passer? How good are you as a playmaker? How good are you as a finisher at the rim? How good can you shoot the basketball? How good is your basketball IQ? Because these are skills that are all developed. How good are you at closing out? So when I think about skilled players, I think about players being complete. I think about players all together. Everything that you do, how complete are you as a basketball player? And I'm already on record saying LeBron James is the most complete basketball player that I've ever seen, of all the basketball players that I've ever seen, in terms of just being a complete basketball player. Now, when you're talking about a guy being skilled or a guy handling the basketball, Kyrie Irving is the best ball handler that I've ever seen. I thought it was Kenny Anderson before I laid eyes on Kyrie Irving. He is without a doubt the best ball handler that I've ever seen. Now, in terms of a shooter, Kyrie Irving is not the best shooter that I've ever seen. That would be Steph Curry. But then that's also up for interpretation, Tone, because now we're talking about, well, where are we talking about? Is he the best long ball shooter? Is he the best mid-range shooter? How good is he off the bounce? Not only how good is he off the bounce, how good is he in the mid-post? Is he the best at that? See, when you talk about skill, you have to bring all of these things into the conversation. Kyrie Irving as a defender, how skilled is he in playing defense? What kind of skill level does he have getting in the passing lane? How good is he off the basketball? This is what we talk about when we talk about a guy being skilled. What kind of rebounder is Kyrie Irving? How skilled is he at that? These are all the things that matter when you're talking about a guy being skilled. Is Kyrie Irving the most skilled basketball player that I've ever seen? No, he is definitely the best ball handler that I've ever seen. No doubt about that.
So I guess we also have to define what is skilled to you. So Jay, your definition of that is the most complete player.
Yes.
So is that just your top three players then? LeBron, Jordan, and who's your third?
I think Kobe's in that conversation. Kobe is one of the most skilled guys that I've ever seen. 100%
Okay.
he is. Chamberlain is in that conversation. So, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Well, yeah. What's your definition, and then who are yours?
It's not my definition. It's the definition of skill. Skill is anything that you can work on and make better. Mm-hmm. Talent is something that you're born with, like a gift, like, depth perception, hand-eye coordination, right? Those are talents. Being ambidextrous, being double jointed, those are things that you can't create. Skill is something you can work on and get better. So if you're talking about skill, defense, certain aspects of defending are skill, right? Positioning, hands, feet, those types of things. Dribbling is a skill, shooting is a skill, etc. Passing is a skill because you can work on that and make it better. Now, there's certain gifts and talents that you're born with that make it easier to do those things, 100%. But so skill is everything. When people look at Kyrie, when people look at basketball in today's day and age, they don't look at the defensive side of the ball. There are people who will swear up and down. They will swear up and down that defense is not a skill. They'll fight me
really
too, that defense is not a skill
because it's like
because it's just not
animate, like I don't even know how you explain defense.
Well, because people think that, well, if you just give effort, you can be a good defender, and I think Jokic is a great example of a guy who gives effort. He's not a good defender, even though he gives effort. Now, there's other guys like Luka who doesn't always give effort, or honestly, or LeBron James. LeBron James is a very skilled defender who sometimes just doesn't give effort. At this point in
his career, he's not the defender that he was years ago.
And that's why it works both ways. You have to have skill and effort to play defense. You can't, but there are guys who are skilled. Like there's this one play, I think, you've probably seen it a million times, where DeMar DeRozan's going up for a layup, and James Harden looks like he's moving away to let him dunk it, and he like flips his hand back and knocks the ball out of bounds on him. I don't know if you've seen that play. That's a very skillful play. It's not an effort play because he just right, but he has good hands. So the reason why Kyrie gets brought up is because what do people talk about? His bag. Look how he dribbles the ball. Look at his bag. Look at his bag. Pause. And no, I'm not gonna look at his bag. But the thing is, that's why they're enamored. They're enamored with that part of the game, and they think that there's a misconception that skill is better. There's a misconception that skilled equals better. And so if Kyrie Irving is the most skilled player of all time, like some people say, does that make him the best player of all time?
Yep. No. It has to, Tom. It has to. If he's the most skilled, that means he's the best. The question is, those skills, how are those skills utilized? It's like for example, I saw this thing with I saw a clip of JJ Redick and LeBron James having a conversation about the inbounder. That's a skill, H. If I am guarding, I'm on defense and I'm guarding the inbounder. So I'm guarding the inbounder. In my head, I'm going 1,000, 2 1,000. Okay, 3 1,000. I know he's under duress.
Yeah.
So now I know he's under duress. I'm gonna go to the corner because the shooter is popping out. I'm gonna go to that guy because I know that now he's under duress and he has to hurry up.
And that's his first look. So now he's got to go to his second.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's a skill that you develop.
Yeah.
So in the process of doing that, you develop other skills. Well, I know that you aren't as good going to your left as you are going to your right. So I'm going to practice, or I'm going to work on my defense. I'm going to work on getting stronger, sliding to my right. I'm going to work on getting stronger because I'm going to force you to your left. That's a skill that I'm developing. Dennis Rodman told us, shoot the basketball. Go ahead. So I can see how the ball bounces off the rim. I can see how it spins. I can see where it spins.
How many times it spins. How many rotations.
That's a skill.
And would you do that per player? Like depending on who the player was, you have to know like where do their shots land, where do they like to? Yeah.
That's exactly what he's doing.
Time and practice.
He used to tell Dumars. He goes, when you shoot the ball from like the free throw line as a mid-range, it rotates 3 times. So when you're shooting from the right, I know that when you miss, you're going to miss long and it's going to bounce here. And he's like, and that's why I'm already waiting here. And I'm like, dude, that's as crazy as you thought this guy was. He was
a skill.
That's
a skill. That's a skill that's developed, right? And this is what I'm talking about when I talk about being the most skilled ever. We have to be more specific. When you talk about being the best shooter ever, are you the best long ball shooter ever? Are you the best mid-range shooter ever? Is it a conversation about you being that, as opposed to when you say broad statements like, yo, you're the most skilled ever? Like, damn, that's putting a lot on it, man, because there's a lot of skill that's in basketball. And to your point, Tone, when you talk about being the most skilled, I think about it. I think about it the same way. If you're the most skilled, that means that I am the best ever, especially if I'm putting those skills to use.
Oh, see, that's where I was actually going to go and say, no, being the most skilled doesn't make you better, because to your point, it's how you use those skills.
Right.
So for those that say, yeah, look, I'm going to circle this all the way around. For those that say today's NBA, all the players are more skilled, and that's why they're better than X, Y, Z generation. No, that's not true. They're not better because they're more skilled. They might be. I agree that in some areas, in most areas, they're more skilled, but that doesn't mean better. Because if you equate more skilled to better, and you say, and this is where it all comes together now, if you equate more skilled to better, then Kyrie being the most skilled means he's the best ever. And I don't think anyone is going to say that. I don't think anyone's going to say he's the, except maybe himself. Except maybe himself. Right? Like, do you know anyone who's ever said Kyrie is the best player ever to touch a basketball?
Never heard that.
There's got to be one of them out there, but no.
When it comes to handling the ball,
out of his family, probably.
Yeah, when it comes to handling the ball, I had like Isaiah Thomas, Rod Strickland. I had those guys up there. I think Kyrie again, but it has to do with skill. The same 3 things: skill, creativity, and rules that allow him to do certain things. I think he's on the top of that list now. But again, being the best ball handler doesn't make you, I think he's the most skilled. I think he's the most skilled with the basketball I've ever seen. Like, it literally, people always say this. It literally looks like that ball is on a string for him. Like, it is phenomenal what he does with the basketball.
Right.
And just to back to that shot, going left-handed sky hook, like, that was a thing of beauty. I give him all the credit in the world. That was beautiful. I love watching Kyrie play, but I don't think
that wasn't ad-libbed. Just so you know, that's in his bag. That's something that he works on.
That's something he works on. 100%.
Kyrie Irving, he works on other things. He works on his dribble package, where he's throwing the ball between his legs 1, 2, 3 times and going to his left, 1, 2, 3 times going to his right. When he's done with all of that stuff, working on his dribble pull-up, going left, working on his dribble pull-up, going right, finishing with the strong hand, finishing with the weak hand. When he's done with all of that stuff, then he'll do stuff like work on running hooks 15 feet away from the basket, running hooks with his left hand 15 feet away from the basket, going not just where you saw him shooting at. He's probably doing that, Tone, on the baseline. He's probably doing that on each baseline. He's probably doing that in the mid post. I think that Kyrie Irving, I don't think that there's much when I think about guys like Kyrie Irving and I see shots like that, I don't think that a lot of that stuff is ad lib. Same logic with the same logic with Joker. When I see Joker with his footwork and then he turns around on the other shoulder and he's got the ball behind his head and he shoots it off the glass. I'm thinking to myself, that's not ad lib. No, he works on that. Just like when Aaron Gordon is around the basket and he's throwing him lobs. That's not something. Don't get me wrong. Not everything is orchestrated. Tone. Don't get me.
Good players, and good coaches will always put their players or themselves in situations to be like, hey, in a game situation when this happens, right? Even if it sounds obscure like that. Right. Listen, a last second shot to win a game. That's something that you need to practice because that's going to happen. So how can I get a shot off? Well, it's not always going to be just a clean pass and a jump shot. It's going to be a crazy left-handed hook. It's going to be a scoop shot. Right. It's going to be, I guarantee you Max Strus has practiced dribbling up to center and shooting a half-court shot and going 3, 2, 1, right? Like we've all done that. He just happened to make one. But those are shots that you practice as you should. So yeah, I don't think he had even any doubt that it was going in. Like I saw it on his face. He was like, that's going in. Like he knew that was in.
There's an old saying, Tone. I mean, you shoot a shot from half court. Hey, that's not a game shot, but it might be a game winner. So I'm gonna work on it.
It's funny. I remember. I want to say it was round 1 of the bubble. The Raptors were playing. Was it the Heat or the Sixers? I forget who they lost to in the first round. But OG Anunoby hits a corner 3 at the buzzer to win one of the games, and they're like, hey, like, wow, that did it. He goes, I don't shoot to miss. Like, it's just like, yeah, every shot you take, you're shooting thinking it's going in. So, Kyrie,
I think that was in the semifinals against Boston.
You might be right. I
think it might be. Yeah.
Too long ago for this old mind. Shout out to Mello Williams. There's another super chat we'll get to in a second, but shout out to Mello Williams, who, as a new member, welcome. Right away, hit us up with a super chat. Better poster, Ant or Jalen?
I'm thinking Ant, man, because if don't get me wrong, that Jalen poster on that Jalen poster. I mean, that was to start the game. So you at the concession stand grabbing a beer. You haven't even sat down yet, and that's how we start in the game. I mean, Ant. I mean, he basically.
I sit where they come and take your orders. So I don't.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I apologize. That's how it is. But I mean, Ant basically punched. Ant basically punches John Collins in the face and then dunked on him. That's essentially what he did, and dislocated his finger.
Broke his face.
Time.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
He basically punched him in the face and then dunked on him, and then that's forever. That's forever going to be John Collins. And was put you on a poster. But it's part of it, though. I'm not gonna look at John Collins and be like, yo, no, because first of all,
he plays defense,
right?
Gets dunked on. That's why I've never gone.
I've been dunked. Yes, I have. I mean,
Kuminga dunked on Wemby and no one talked about it. So I'll leave it right there.
You could get dunked on.
Let me answer the question too. Ant. 100% it's Ant is the better poster, and it makes me and it always brings me back to what I thought about Ant when he started in Minnesota. Where is he going to have to go to become the face of the league? Because this dude is talented enough to be the face of the league, and I don't think it's going to happen in Minnesota.
I really think so. Really quick.
You know what a big fan of an Ant I am? Just to finish the thought, and then I'll let you go. I'm taking the kids. We going to Minnesota next month because I want to see Ant play.
Nice.
in Minnesota.
That's dedication, because Minnesota, man.
America and the Nickelodeon universe. So there's stuff.
Okay.
And a friend of mine just moved there. Like a 25-year friendship that I have with someone just moved there, and took a job, and so I gotta go hit him up. I guess go say hello, see what Minnesota's. I've never been, so I gotta go.
It's my grandma lives there. It's cool.
I believe it's cold.
Yeah, it's cold. So what about Ant strikes you guys? Because we have so much talent in the league right now with Luka, Tatum, Giannis, like all these guys. But you know what's interesting? how old is Tatum? 26?
He just turned 26 this month.
So I'm not saying he's still like just getting it started, like beginning to center of his prime, right? Like Tatum's still young, Luka's still young, but Ant, like this dude, just the skill set that he has, he has that it factor, right? When we've talked about this before, what do you have to be like the face of the league? You have to obviously be one of the best players in the league or the best player, but you have to be marketable. And Ant's so marketable, like he's just so funny, so easy to like he's always on various interviews just making people laugh. Like Ant has that charisma and that it factor, I think, that like John Morant has, that we've been missing for the last year. So do you think though he has the ability to get multiple chips? Like does he have that type of factor, or can we not even talk about that what if scenario until he's gone when he leaves Minnesota?
You heard my question, and it's my question for a reason, because with all due respect, he's not going to win multiple chips in Minnesota. He does have the personality and the game, the skill set, the athleticism, everything. He's got the package to be the face of the league. I don't think he does it in Minnesota. And that's, again, no knock to Minnesota. Like I said, I've never been. I'm going to see for myself. It's tough for me, as much as, Jay will say, Giannis doesn't get enough push because, he's from Europe or Greece via Nigeria. But I think it's also because he's in Milwaukee. And again, no disrespect to Milwaukee, but if you look at where the faces of our leagues have been typically, right? They're in the big cities. They're in Chicago. They're in LA. They're in New York, right? There's, can you name, Boston? And Boston, although not a big city, for basketball it is, right? It's a historical spot. So, if you take out LA, Chicago, Boston, like where have the other faces of the leagues been?
San Antonio.
Was he a face of the league? Was Tim Duncan a face of the league?
Yeah, he was.
I mean, he's in my top 10, so I was like top 10. But debatable for sure. Miami,
it was difficult. It was difficult to market him. It was difficult to market him, not because he was in San Antonio, but because he was so quiet. That's why it was.
And is San Antonio a small market? I was the only one I could think of that's not like LA,
right.
Like these massive.
But he wasn't. He wasn't the face of the league. We still looked at Kobe and Shaq as the face of the league during those early 2000s.
I think that's valid.
And they were in and they were in LA.
He was one of the faces. They were more popular, but definitely Tim Duncan was one of the
It would
faces.
be like today. There's a lot of talent, but he's not. Yeah, I agree with you. He wasn't like a LeBron, a Jordan.
The only exception to those big markets of of Chicago, Boston, LA, basketball big markets is LeBron, right? In Cleveland and in Miami. But where did he end up? He ends up in LA. So it's just
one of the things we have to,
it's just hard. It's really hard.
Yeah. And I think one of the things, Tone, that we have to recognize when you're talking about the faces of the league, Magic, Jordan, James, Bryant, Shaq, like one of the things that went with their games, one is confidence.
Yep.
Number two is aesthetics. Like Anthony Edwards is a good looking dude. So the fact that we're putting him on television and we're marketing him, and what we're trying to get as the NBA, we're trying to get the casual eye. We're not trying to get Tony. We're not trying to get Haley. We already got Haley and Tony on the hook.
We're already watching.
Yeah, we're already on the hook. We're trying to get the casual eye. So how do we get the casual eye to recognize this guy? Well, the way we get the casual eye is we have to make it aesthetically good for people. So, okay, there's this guy that plays in Minnesota. He's this high wire act. He plays with this ridiculous amount of confidence, and he's good looking. Okay, that helps us out for the casual fan because now they want to see him. The problem that I have with Minnesota is the same problem that I had with James in Cleveland, the same problem that I had with Shaq in Orlando. I just think he's going to end up outgrowing Minnesota. I don't think that it's just because I don't think that Minnesota is a whack basketball city. I think Minnesota is a good basketball city. I just feel like he's going to ultimately outgrow Minnesota and just become a bigger deal than what Minnesota can handle. And I think he's ultimately going to end up in a bigger market. Not because Minnesota isn't a great basketball city. It's just because he's going to become a bigger deal than Minnesota can handle.
Kevin Garnett was a much better player in Minnesota. But what do we remember Kevin Garnett? We remember him as a Celtic. Like you do, right? Because that's where he went and won and formed the big three and blah blah blah. But let's be honest, like he was a terror in Minnesota.
Played 12 years in Minnesota. People forget that. It wasn't like he played 2 or 3 years. He was there for 12 years up in Minnesota.
12 years in Minnesota, 1 year in Brooklyn, and we remember that stretch of what was it, 4 years in Boston, 5 years, like 6 years.
6 years. Yeah,
we remember the 6 years in Boston. Meanwhile, the 13, 14 years around it, we completely ignore. Let's be honest. I'm taking Minnesota KG over maybe all but one power forward in the history of basketball. And people don't even talk about that, which is just it's crazy. It's crazy.
And again, when you're talking about just outgrowing a city, I mean, that you might be a victim of your own success where now I have to go. I can't stay here anymore. Not because I don't want to. A prime example, Tone, I'll give you is Carmelo Anthony. I think about Carmelo Anthony. Carmelo Anthony didn't want to leave Syracuse. He did not want to leave there. But the problem is they told him he's going to be a top 3 pick in the draft. You've outgrown Syracuse. It's time to go. It's time to go. And I feel like with Anthony Edwards, they're doing a great job up there in terms of building that unit.
Absolutely.
I think they're doing a great job. And to be quite honest with you, Tone, I do think that they're going to compete for the NBA championship at some point. I think
they will. I think they will compete. I think this is the first time that I can honestly say Minnesota is going to compete for a title. I just don't think they win it. And I think the opposite happened to Giannis. I think if they don't win it in Minnesota, he's going to be forced to leave. And I think Giannis, on the other hand, almost is a victim of his own success because they won. He feels like he can't or doesn't want to leave because they proved that they could do it. Right. But I'm telling you, if Giannis doesn't win that year, I don't think he's still there. I think
I agree.
I think at that point we're in year 8. I don't think we see Giannis in Milwaukee that much longer.
He doesn't. I don't think he signs that extension. It's the following year or the year. I think it's the following year that he signs a big extension. I think he's out. I think he would have bounced. And so that's what my thing is with Ant is going to follow more the path of LeBron, where he's going to have to go somewhere else to win versus Jordan, who they did a good job. They built a team around him and they win.
I do think he can win in Minnesota, though, Tone. I don't think that's the issue. I do think that
times in Minnesota.
But see, that's the thing, though, and I don't even think it's. I don't think it's about winning multiple times. Let's just say, for the sake of argument, that he does win multiple times in Minnesota. How much bigger of a deal would he be after he won multiple times in Minnesota if he was in Los Angeles or if he was in Miami, right? Or if he was in New York? He'd be an even bigger deal, which goes back to my original point that he would have to leave off the strength that I've just outgrown Minnesota. Minnesota has just become too small of a place for me, which when you think about what's going on today, Tone, with multimedia and how big the NBA has become in terms of expansion and in terms of being able to see NBA all over the place, you would think that it wouldn't be an issue staying in Cleveland. It wouldn't be an issue staying in Minnesota. But the fact that I play in Minnesota, well, that also means that expansion is in Los Angeles too. That expansion is also in New York too. That expansion is in Miami. Tone, you've said this to me 1,000 times. Tone, what's the third biggest North American city?
Toronto.
Toronto is huge. So the fourth biggest city in North America. Toronto is huge. And if these guys actually and what happened with Kawhi Leonard? To go up there and win, that was a big deal. But the fact that if I go to Los Angeles, I'm going to be an even bigger deal. I think it was a mistake for him to leave Toronto. I still stand on that. But the fact that he left and went home, that $40 million that he left on the table, he was able to make that back in Los Angeles.
Yeah. He's. Although, let's not get into it. I was going to say, although if you come to Toronto, this is, I've outgrown my position too, which is why I'm joining the draft, why I'm entering the draft this season. Mm-hmm. That being said, being in Toronto makes a lot of sense for players that they don't realize. They don't realize something. And because they think, it's a lot of taxes. It's very similar to being in LA in terms of taxes. So the difference is if you stay in Toronto, just think about this. Whatever contract you sign in Toronto, they pay you in US dollars. Currently, $1 is like $1.33 Canadian. You automatically just got a 33% raise So if you sign a max deal, just think about that. Just think about what is it? 400 million is the max? 400 million?
300 million.
I thought it went up to 400.
No, Jalen Brown signed it. He said his deal was for $306 million.
But I thought the new Supermax was 400.
It's $306 million.
Okay,
but
so
either way, yeah.
Just so you know, 300 million is 399 million Canadian. That's a $99 million. So it gives you more buying power.
$100 million more playing in Toronto.
$100 million more. I'm just saying.
That's probably why Siakam didn't want to leave.
Yeah.
That might have something to do with why Siakam wanted to stay up there. Like, I don't know if I'm feeling leaving $100 million on the table. So
yeah, no, I get it.
You have to pay all the players in US, so which makes sense because the league is a US league. So that's a good deal for me.
If you had to choose a dream destination for Ant, where would you like to see him go, or who would you like to see him paired up with?
Selfishly, the Lakers.
Of course.
Selfishly, I think, and I love who I'm about to say. Well, I would love to see him replace Jamal in Denver. Or paired up with Wemby in San Antonio. Like I want to see him part of a guard big, like super I don't want to call it super team, but a super duo. Yeah. That's what I would love to see, because with all due respect to Rudy and Cat, you put him next to like a passing skilled big. Oof.
I would actually love him with the Clippers if they ran that organization better.
Stop
Don't
it.
do it to him, Jay. Don't even.
But I won't. I won't. I won't. I will not do that. But because if they ran that organization better, it would be a great place to play. And I understand what Ballmer is trying to do. Built a new arena.
They built it in the wrong city, though.
Yeah, trying to change the culture in Los Angeles. The
too late. No, I'm just kidding.
The dream city for Ant, to be honest with you, would be Chicago if they ran that organization better. He'd be great.
I don't hate that. But people already compare him to MJ, so that could be like such a big selling point. I think it could be for the franchise, though. It'd be a big selling point because people already call him.
Why are you? Oh, putting him in the Clippers and the Bull, like two of the worst run organizations.
Yeah.
But again, Tone, if they ran, hence what I said, if they ran the organizations better, and the idea that if he played in there, they'd be comparing him to Jordan. We don't have a problem with that. With the Lakers, when they got Jabbar, who'd they compare him to? Chamberlain. When they got Shaq, who they compare him to? Jabbar. So I don't think that's an issue. And on top of that, it ain't like Jordan just retired like 5 or 10 years ago. Jordan been gone over 20 years.
No, so, and no one's making that comparison because we done with the 90s. We done with the 90s.
Y'all over it, right? Y'all over it anyway. So a guy like Anthony Edwards playing for the Bulls, if they did a better job at building around a guy like Anthony Edwards, I think he'd be great in Chicago. If they did a better job, especially considering the marketing, Madison Avenue. Oh,
how about New York? How about New York?
I feel the same. I feel the same way about New York as I do Chicago and the Clippers. If they ran it better, which is kind of interesting with the Knicks because they're doing a better job at running that organization as opposed to what they've done in the past.
You know why?
Are doing a better job.
You know why, right?
Because
James Dolan told them if you don't, we hire him Fluent. And once they picked up their game, once I said I was coming, they picked up their game.
By the way. Don't say for free.
For free.
Wait,
not for free. Not for free.
No, never for free. Did you guys hear the player comparison?
What about Miami? What about like the second?
That's where I thought, but then it was like Jimmy Butler and I feel like
but Jimmy Butler.
Bucket's on his way out.
Oh, he's gone.
Yeah,
Bucket's on his way out.
Okay, Jay, I'll remember that when they're face to face with Boston in the Eastern Conference Finals and win in 7. I remember that.
You can remember, write it down, take a picture. You don't give up.
I don't.
Okay.
Oh, sorry. Most skilled ever?
Kobe.
I didn't answer your question.
Kobe.
Never too late. Did you hear the player comparison of Tyrese Haliburton?
No. What is it?
They're calling him the NBA's Tua. What do you think about that?
What?
I kind of like it.
Tua?
No. That's so disrespectful to Haliburton. Haliburton can throw a pass past 10 yards.
So what about what happened the second half of the season?
He got
They
hurt.
went on the.
But
He did. Haliburton got hurt, and it clearly affected his game.
Yeah.
But what I won't do is I won't discredit some of the teams that he went up against, because I watched Herb Jones put him in jail. I watched Anthony Edwards slow him down. I watched Cleveland slow him down. I think what he's doing is he's trying to play the maximum amount of games so he can make the All-NBA team. I think he's trying to do that, which, since I've seen him, I'm not actually sure if he's going to make the All-NBA team, to be quite honest with you, the way he's been playing lately.
Yeah.
But Tone, I think you're discounting Tua, man. Tua was on the MVP. He was on the MVP level before, and Tua's one of those guys where
no, they're just trying to boost. I love.
Is that what it was? Did I get bought into the? Did I get bought into the Tua hype?
So.
He can throw the long ball, Tone. Yes, he could. That's not true, Tone. He can throw the long ball.
No, and no.
Look, here we go.
You bought into this fool's gold. You bought into this fool gold because he led the league in passing yards. But let's be honest, if Haley was throwing the ball to Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle and those guys, she would have led the league in yards too.
No, Tone. See, it's not that simple. No, Tone. It's not that simple. No, because we've seen guys who have bomb squads. We've seen guys who have really good wide receivers and are not very good as quarterbacks.
Who had
How about Kirk Cousins? How about him? How about Kirk Cousins?
Kirk Cousins is top 5 in yards passing every single year.
Right, and he's what, Tone? You just talked about it. Fool's gold.
Tua. You're right, just like Tua.
Or who else am I thinking about? Why am I drawing a blank on him this quickly? Butter.
Oh.
How about Butter in Tampa?
What? Butter had Mike Evans one season and he just got paid because what'd he do? He led his team to the playoffs. Right. That wasn't fool's gold. You know how I feel about Butter B. You know how I feel about Butter B. Yes. Get out of here, man.
Yes.
They're all fake.
I don't know. I thought it was a funny comparison. I think we have to give
a bad comparison.
It was a wild one. Most are. You can't even translate across sports like that. That's insane. But it was funny. But another thing that's been in the news: Isaiah Thomas, starting tomorrow on Wednesday, will be playing and was signed to a contract with the Phoenix Suns.
Who? Isaiah who? Isaiah Thomas who? Zeke? Coming out of retirement?
No. Signed a 10-day with the Isaiah Thomas signed a 10-day with Phoenix.
You didn't hear this? And he's playing tomorrow.
So here's the deal, Tone. He was in the G League, and he was in the G League. He was in Utah's farm system. Well, Danny Ainge can't really use him because he's got a bunch of young guys. So what he does is somebody picks up the telephone. Hey, what's going on with this Isaiah Thomas guy? Can he still play? What's going on? Well, turns out, Tony, he's averaging like 30 a game, like 35 a game. Yeah, he's averaging like 35 a game in the G League. Well, Phoenix picks up the phone, calls up Danny Ainge. Oh, what's going on with this guy? Oh, you want him? You can have him. Sure. You can definitely have him for a 10-day. Phoenix calls him up. Yo, we want to bring you in for a 10-day, see if it works. And he's back in the league.
Because Dealey and Okogie are both out, so Phoenix is struggling. Yep. I mean, look, and I have clips of this, so I told all of you guys, not you two, because you agree with me, but many people, that Phoenix was going to flame out. This thing wasn't going to work, and if it does, it's not going to be this season, because it's just, and nothing against the squad. I mean, KD has been phenomenal. They've dealt with injuries, so it's nothing necessarily wrong. It was just the whole setup in general. But now you're bringing Isaiah Thomas, which I think should just say that's how your season's going. But this guy's been begging for a contract, begging, like, please let me play, please let me play. And now he's getting a shot, which is going to be I don't know what to expect. I'm not expecting much, but I think it's a cool opportunity that, he's getting.
I wouldn't be surprised if I wouldn't be surprised if he got signed for the rest of the season. That would not surprise me.
They could use him. I think.
Let me just say this first of all. Phoenix, when I said it wasn't going to work until the rest of the NBA bailed them out and made these trades with them and gave them, like when Milwaukee gave them 3 players and then free agents, and now Isaiah, like they're just getting gifted depth.
Say that.
Yeah.
Right. They're being gifted depth. And it's going to give them a shot, especially the way we talked about this last week, how well KD is playing. Let me read a couple names for you, okay? Antonio Blakeney. Manny Harris, Jordan McRae, Christian Wood, Pierre Jackson, Malik Hairston. Do you know what those 6 people have in common?
They all came from the G League.
They all averaged over 29 points per game in the G League and amounted to bupkis. Nothing in the NBA. So you telling me Isaiah's averaging 30 in the G League means what? Nothing.
Wait a minute, Tone. Christian Wood was he was a double guy. Yeah, he was a double guy in the league.
And
that's the only
he got hurt, but I mean,
1 out of 5.
I don't expect Isaiah Thomas. Okay, first of all, Isaiah Thomas is what, 33, 34, something like that. How many more years do you think he got left? Right, so it's not like Isaiah Thomas is a spring chicken.
Isaiah Thomas. Listen, heart of a champion, bro. But Isaiah Thomas is I don't care what he's listed as. He's a 5'6" dude who had one incredible season, and that's it. That's who he is. I'm sorry, that's who he is because listen, he killed himself, gave up his body for the Celtics, which he shouldn't have. By the way, shame on you. They would throw you away like yesterday's newspaper, as they did. So players be forewarned. Don't do that. But dude, he had his run. He's done. He had his run. He's done. And
you
he
don't
missed
believe
out
in
on
second chances?
I believe in second chances. I don't believe that he's going to make anything of it.
All right, Isaiah. Well, you heard it here first. You got to prove everyone wrong.
It's not like look 5 seconds in and Tone really hating. No, I'm being realistic, and if realistic is hating, okay, then I'm a hater. But I'm just being realistic. What is he going to do? What is he going to give him? 12 minutes, 3 points a game? Like, okay, if that's good enough for him, then cool. But
no, I think that's true.
If we being realistic about who Isaiah Thomas is, who is he? He's been out of the league for what, 4 years now, something like that.
Let me see when he retired.
Well, it depends. What are you counting as out of the league? Because he was in the league. He was given chances, but he never really.
When we talk about in the league, Tone, I'm talking about being in the league for an extended period of time. That's what I'm talking about. I ain't talking about a dude being in the league playing 2 months for the Washington Wizards and then he's out of the league and then come back in the league and plays a month for the Los Angeles Lakers. No, I'm talking about a guy who's actually been in the league for an extended period of time. He's 35 years old, Tone. He just turned 35.
How many more years? So he played obviously the Nuggets in 2019, then Wizards 2020. But how much was he really playing?
No, stop. So look, he starts his career in 2011. Okay, he's 22 years old. He's in Sacramento. Then he goes to Phoenix. Then he has Boston. He plays that one. Then just be clear. He played in 65, 79, 72, 67, 46 games for Phoenix. He then plays 21 games in Boston. He has the one season where he plays 82 games and averages 22 points a game. The next season is his big year, right? He plays 76 games, averages 29 points a game. That's his big breakout year. He's a second time All-Star. Then he gets hurt and plays 32, 15, 17. Sorry, these are 32 is collective from Cleveland, the Lakers, and Denver. Then 40 for Washington. And he played for it's just ever since that Boston.
He played 12 games. He played 12 games in Denver. That was it.
Yeah, he plays 32 and 22 games from 17 to 2022. He's played one game.
Last time he played in the league was 3 years ago.
Right.
That was the last time he played in the league.
4 games for the Lakers in 21-22, 1 game for Dallas. He played 17 games last year for Charlotte. I love what he's doing, but he's done.
That wasn't in the league. He was not in the league when he was doing that. We're talking about it and when he was playing with these guys, I mean, again, when he was in New Orleans, he played 3 games for the Pelicans. That's it. And
listen, to tell Fung Gun Smoke, that's all I'm saying. If he's happy just being in the league, playing 6 minutes a game, 3 points a game, if that's cool, then that's cool. Then all power to him. You're talking to a dude that's entering the NBA draft this year. So listen, I get it. I get wanting to be in the league. It's always tough. Like when you see Derrick Rose, everyone applauds what he has done. I applaud what he has done, but he ain't the same Derrick Rose, and that's hard. That's hard.
I think that he wants to go out on his own terms, though, Tone.
Yeah, I get that.
I don't think. I feel like he got pushed. I feel like he feels he got pushed out, and he wants to prove that I can still play, and I want to retire on my own terms as opposed to just going out like that. I could get with that logic, sure. And let's make no mistake about it, Tone. That career year that he had, he's a B player who had an A year, and that's who he was that year. Danny Ainge put money on. He was a B player. He was a B player who had an A year. But let's make no mistake about it. Danny Ainge put money on the table for him. And Danny Ainge put money on the table for him. He passed on it. He passed on it because he thought he was a max player, which he was not. Only to find out that, well, wait a minute, he's got some injuries that throw a monkey wrench in everything we're really trying to do, which is why Danny Ainge basically sold him off. He was damaged goods when he traded him, and then after that, his career went the other way.
And let me remind some people. There's an old saying: "A bird in the hand is worth two in the bush." Isaiah Thomas, man, when that contract came up, take it. Yeah. I think everyone's scared to take that. As long as it's not too long of a contract, take it, because they're all scared of that Pippen contract.
Prime example, Tone. How does that deal look in New York with Jalen Brunson right now? How does that deal look?
We all said they were crazy giving them that much money.
What?
Now it's a steal.
It's that they should be charged with a felony for that. Because they're gonna have to break the bank. They got him on the cheap. They straight got him on the cheap. He was like, damn, Jalen Brunson, 4 years, $100 million. Wow, that's a lot. Now we're looking at that contract like, man, you should be executive of the year for that one.
100%.
Why do you think Jalen, I mean, it probably is self-explanatory, but why do you think Jalen's thriving is so much more? Is it because he's on ball and he is at 1A compared to when you're playing with Luka? And do you think that is going to always be an issue for players that play with Luka, or you just have to select a different realm of guys to play with Luka? Or was it just the confidence that they instilled in Brunson? We're like, we got you. You're our guy. We trust you. Here you go.
It's all of the above. I think it's all of the above because I think a lot of us saw what Jalen Brunson could do next to Luka. And you were like, man, like he's going to be good. But then we saw the money and we're like, ooh, this guy's a 2. He's not a 1. Mm-hmm. That's a lot of money for a 2. Turns out he can lead a team.
And we can't overstate the importance of turning a guy loose. And that's what they did in New York. They gave him the ball and they turned him loose, which goes back to my original logic about, who am I thinking about? Jeremy Lin. Goes back to my original logic about Jeremy Lin, where there were guys in the league looking at Jeremy Lin going, I'm nice like that if I got an opportunity. And Jalen Brunson is going to New York and they're telling him, yo, I'm going to turn you loose and I'm going to let you rock. Well, I already feel like I'm as good as De'Aaron Fox or Jamal Murray or Darius Garland. These are guys who got 175. I think Darius Garland signed a $192 million deal. I already feel like I'm nicer than these dudes anyway. But now I'm going to a place where, 1, I got underpaid. 2, they're going to turn me loose. And they're going to turn me loose on these guys. You see a different player. And I can't understate the importance of a guy being turned loose, how much confidence he has.
But let's be very clear, though. There are a lot of guys that in the league today, there are guys that are not in the league today that can do that for a short stint, right? Like you brought up Malik Monk earlier. Oh, when they turned him loose. Malik Monk can't do that night in and night out. Jeremy Lin can't do that night in and night out. What set Jalen Brunson apart was everyone knew he could do what he's doing. The question was, could he do it every single night? Because that's what takes you from an NBA player to an NBA
star. What do you
star.
mean night in and night out, Tone?
When I say night in and night out, like night in and night out, like that can consistently be that guy.
Like Malik's not putting up 30 or getting streaky every single night.
Yeah, Malik's not doing that every night.
No, he's not.
As quick as he gives you 6.
He's a role player.
Right. But in his role, I'm good for 15 to 18 a night. Yeah, that's who I really am.
And every team needs those guys. You're not
everybody needs that guy. But what I'm saying is there's players in the NBA, there's star players in the NBA, and there's superstars players in the NBA. And the difference between the guys in the NBA and the superstar guys in the NBA is the guys in the NBA all can do that once in a while. The stars in the NBA can do that more often than not, right? They can do it. No, everyone's gonna have a bad game, but that's what I'm saying.
You make up for it with
my point is, Jalen Brunson could have just as easily been, and I'm not knocking Malik Monk. I'm just using him because you said his name earlier as an example. He could have just as easily been Malik Monk that could do it some nights, but not every night. And what set him apart this season was we didn't know, could he be that guy all season long? Turns out, yeah, he can. Yeah, he can.
Knicks, I think the Knicks saw that in him. That's why.
Yeah, that's why they gave him the contract.
And not just the contract, they gave him the ball. Now, I understand your logic about Malik Monk because Malik Monk is really good.
Yeah, I'm using him as the example.
Right. I do get that. But, I mean, the writing was on the wall with Jalen Brunson in terms of his game. I mean, first of all, Tone, him coming out of college, he was the best. I think that was the same year that Trae Young came out. I mean, he was first team All-American. He was Big East Player of the Year, I think. I think they didn't win the national championship, but he was arguably the best point guard in the country. So with him being that and his development, it was obvious that, this guy can possibly play at this level. So he comes to New York and he's in the perfect situation where we're going to turn you loose. You're going to play with a big in Julius Randle, who you can play off of. In the process of him doing that, we see a much better offensive player. We see a much better scorer than we saw in Dallas. Now, of course, they got him on the cheap, and they got him. They got him
gone the other way. That also could have gone the other way. He could have been.
It could have gone the other way, but I think a guy like
him and he collapsed.
To use the example of Malik Monk, I think a guy like that. I think Malik Monk's ceiling was a lot lower than Jalen Brunson. I don't think Malik Monk is a guy who Sacramento, or I'm not even going to say Sacramento. If he's in Portland, they're not sending him up to Portland and they're giving him the basketball like they are Anthony Simons. They're not doing that.
All I'm saying is, if you haven't seen someone do it consistently, you might think he can, but you never really know until he does it. Like, no one, to your point, no one's going to say, Malik Monk, here's the ball, go nuts, you're our guy. And if they did, I think they'd be disappointed. I think that was the concern with Jalen Brunson was he always had Luka, or not always, but that season before he had Luka. And so it's like, okay, he had Luka to fall back on. What will he do when he doesn't have that? And I think that's why even Dallas was hesitant to give him that much money. That's why when New York signed him, again, go back and look. Every single person said, "Oh man, they overpaid him. They overpaid him. They overpaid him."
One of those people, Tone. I definitely was one of those people.
And me too. And now we're like, oh wow, New York was right. They got him on the cheap, and he can do this night in and night out. Good for them. But you never really know until you give him a chance. And hey, good for him and good for the Knicks. It worked out.
Guku, right? Exactly. I wasn't sure, Guku. I'm glad you cleared that up. They did win the national championship that year. He was the player of the year.
There you go.
He was the player of the year. I think he was the best point guard. No, don't get me wrong. I think Trae Young led the country in scoring that year and assists as a freshman. But I mean, Jalen Brunson was definitely one of the best players in the country. And the fact that he went in the second round, that was nuts to me.
He go in the second round?
In the second round. He wasn't the first round pick. He went in the second round. I was like, damn.
I really want to be a first round pick, but I'll be okay if I go in the second round.
Somebody is clearly not doing their homework. Clearly, somebody was not doing their homework on Jalen Brunson. I'm sorry.
Darren said Boston did IT so wrong, sending him to the number 1 team in the Eastern Conference to play with LeBron James. I think that's a little.
No, what Danny Ainge did was Danny Ainge took advantage of an opportunity. So let's rewind the clock.
Let's be honest. And Danny Ainge said, "Hey, let me pay you a little something for what you did in the past." Like most teams do, pay for what you've done or what you're gonna do, right? Like Jalen Brunson's next contract will probably be very significant from the Knicks, not because they think he's going to get better, but because they knew they got him on the cheap this time around. Danny Ainge was like, "Oh, you broken? Yeah, here." Sure, they sent him to the number 1 team in the East, but
okay. So let's rewind, Tone. If we're going to be honest about this, well, number 1, his sister passed away in a car accident, and he ended up playing, which he shouldn't even be playing, doing that. That's number 1. Number 2, Danny Ainge took advantage of an opportunity. What was that opportunity? Well, the word got out that the Cleveland Cavaliers was shopping Kyrie Irving. Kyrie Irving wasn't really appreciative of that. He asked out. Well, Danny Ainge recognizes what's going on in Boston, and he sees the turmoil. He already put the money on the table for Isaiah Thomas. who declined it. It was like, nah, I think I'm worth more than that. Well, I'll tell you what. Let me go pick up the telephone and let me check these guys over here. Let me check their temperature and see how they feel about Kyrie Irving. Well, they obviously didn't feel that great about him because they handed him over. How about you take Isaiah Thomas off of our hands? Well, he clearly wasn't that banged up because he passed the physical. Because if he didn't, he wouldn't have the trade wouldn't have gone through. So the idea that they did him dirty, number one, they did put the money on the table, and he could have signed the deal. He passed and wanted more dough. And then they send him to Cleveland, where he did end up getting hurt. And in the process of him getting hurt, he was already behind the 8 ball. So, and to play with LeBron James, it just didn't work out.
I think he's saying because I said Boston did him dirty, and
he's just being
being rebuttal to me saying Boston did him dirty. Boston could have just paid him and kept him, but whatever.
They could have done that.
They could have done that.
And then Q Spades, how y'all feel about the Bron and JJ new podcast? Have you guys seen it?
Don't answer it yet. Can I add to that question? You can pull it back up because I have an add-on to that question. What are you more excited to watch if you haven't already watched the Bron and JJ podcast? Bron and JJ or Lamar Odom and Caitlyn Jenner?
What?
Those are the two new podcasts.
Wait, let me look at this. I'm sorry.
Lamar Odom and Caitlyn.
What?
I'm sorry.
Okay, sorry.
I saw this yesterday. I'm thinking, I got to step my game up because I am not going to be able to compete with that right there. What can I do?
Lamar and Caitlyn?
Yes, that's what I'm thinking. What can I do?
I mean, respect for the duo, for winning duo. I would have never, ever guessed to be.
What can I'm sitting in my living room last night saying to myself, what can I do to compete with that?
Nothing, Jay. It's
that's
over.
That's gonna be nuts.
Yeah, I have an idea. Do you want to know my idea of what we can do collectively?
Because I don't want to give it away. You don't want nobody stealing our ideas, though. So no, I don't want to do that.
You sure?
We'll talk about it off the air. That's what we'll do.
Okay. Oh yeah.
Right.
Yeah. This is
we can talk about it.
But
I
just pulled up the trailer. No, okay, I'm not gonna show it.
I'll just say, I'll take.
I have the intro all queued up. No, okay. All right.
What you got, Tom? What you got?
Yeah, I feel like you have to drop it now.
Yeah, now you got to drop it. What you got?
You can't tease the chat, and you can't. No, we have to.
Because I have an idea how we compete. How we compete with Caitlyn and
compete with Caitlyn and Lamar Odom. I did see that. Take a look at this.
This is how we compete. This is how we compete. We watch every single one of their shows, and we.
React.
We do the
reaction.
Yeah. We just go up what they talking about and we react to what they.
I mean, that's how the top YouTubers make a living. They just copy other.
Is it really?
Whatever. I guess that's what we do too. But the thing is, I have no idea. But why? How does anyone know how that came to be, or like why? I mean, is Caitlyn going to be discussing her like
for a while?
They what, Tone? What is happening right now, H? What is going on, H? What's happening right now, H? What is going on?
Hey, you know?
I mean, if that's your thing.
But is this like a sports podcast, or is this like
it's a sports podcast?
I don't know if you know this, H, but Caitlyn
I do know.
Is a former Olympic gold medalist.
I do know that. I didn't know that.
Right. A former Olympic gold medalist.
No, wait,
world-class athlete.
No, we forgot. Lamar and Caitlyn were family at one point because Caitlyn is the father of Kylie Jenner.
Yeah.
Correct?
Yeah.
And he dated Khloe Kardashian.
He was married to her, Tom.
He was married to Khloe Kardashian. So yeah,
family dynamic.
100%. They met at a cookout.
Mm-hmm. He was married to that chick.
Khloe looked nothing like Khloe. I don't think she looks at. Do you think she recognizes herself when she looks at old pictures?
I think Khloe is OJ's daughter.
I've heard that.
And I'm pretty sure she is. She doesn't look like any of them.
No,
I
that's
think
a fact.
She's definitely mixed. Yeah.
Oh,
I believe that more than I believe.
Was the mom sneaking around with OJ?
I believe that more than I believe Wilt scored 100.
That the mom was sneaking around with OJ.
On board with.
Yeah, I'm on board with that one.
Well, maybe we can
There's
do a
three
screening.
there's three things in this world I know. Okay, OJ did it. Wilt didn't score 100, and OJ did it. He's Chloe's father.
100% OJ
He
did it.
did it.
100% OJ did it. No question about it. No question in my mind. OJ did it.
Look, have you seen them side by side?
Yeah, I've seen
It's
all the.
It's like the Otto
clips and
Porter
stuff.
Jr. who retired, but
Yeah.
Otto Porter Jr.
Leonard
and his granddad, Wilt Chamberlain, like they look like that's kinfolk right there.
Yeah.
Well, if you think about it, H, I mean, how many did Wilt say he was with? 20,000. Did he say 20? So you telling me in the 20,000 chicks that I was with, not one time did I have to get the
Listen.
Hey,
There's no way Bob Marley has 57 children, and Wilt Chamberlain, if he had 20,000 women, doesn't have
not one.
Fluent. He had more race.
more risk.
H, this is what I want you to remember, H. And I always put this. I always reference this. Think about the crypto.com arena. Fill it up with chicks. The whole place is full of women.
They all want him. They all want Wilt.
Just so you know,
maybe 2 or 3.
Here's the difference, H. But it gets better. There's still 1,100 more chicks outside waiting to get in.
Yeah.
That's how many he went.
Although I did see some woman say, I saw Wilt Chamberlain in those short shorts. There's nothing there that looked like I wanted.
That's probably put out by Sean too. That's Sean too. He's just putting out a bunch of BS. I don't trust that guy.
Sean also clipped. I believe he said Abe Lincoln had and George Washington had LeBron as the GOAT. So let me answer my question first. Which one are you more interested in watching?
Well,
JJ
now,
and Lamar.
Right. Hey, I'm with H. I'm with H.
Let's be honest.
Right.
No, you know what? I'm not a big fan of the Kardashians.
But come on, you don't watch a car going down the road at the speed limit. You watch the car that crashes itself into a telephone pole at 200 miles an hour.
It might be interesting.
Even though it's horrific, you can't turn away from it. You have to watch it. Even though you shouldn't be watching it. You have to. I have not now and see this.
And
I will say this. I haven't watched the whole thing, but I watched a lot of the JJ and Bron, and it's actually really good. But I'm telling you right now, there are a lot of people who claim to know basketball who they are talking so over their heads. Even that inbound conversation. Okay, there you go. There's people
all the plays. I was like, I didn't even know about.
Where they're like they're going to pretend like they understand, and they're going to say, look at how high LeBron's IQ is, and JJ Redick, they know and they do. But I'm guaranteeing you, if they're being honest, and they won't say it on the show, they won't say it in the comments, when they're sitting at home alone watching it, they're like, I have no idea what the hell these guys are talking about.
It gives like a little bit of a cheat sheet. JJ sits down and is like, okay, these are what these plays mean. I'm like, okay, because it's for players. It's not for fans.
No, and you know how many people are going to steal that stuff and like just regurgitate what they said and act like they know what they're talking about, and they don't.
You have no idea. No, you have no idea. A prime example was James talking about running a pick and roll. Why guys can't do it on the other side of the floor. I'm thinking to myself, watching plays, because the way I learned plays was by watching every position. Like, all right, I got to know where you're supposed to be. That's how I knew where I was supposed to be. So I know where you are. I know where you are. I know where you're supposed to be. That's how I learned. That's how I learned plays. I didn't need.
That's how I got minutes, because I knew where everybody was supposed to be. So even though I may not have always been the most athletic or whatever, I was always in the right position, which made me look better than I really was. And I always made sure everybody else was in the right position. That's how I got. I'll be honest. That's how I got a lot of my minutes.
I was never, and I know this sounds ridiculous, H, but I was never one of those people who read a playbook, because I'm a visual learner. Show it to me. Yeah. That's who I was. And whenever I got a playbook in front of me, I was like, I don't need this shit. Just show it to me. Show me what we're supposed to be running, and I'll get it. Basketball is something for me. It's always been something like a mathematician with numbers. Basketball just made sense.
Who's that guy? I'm sorry, I'm drawing a blank. Wilding out.
Nick Cannon.
Nick Cannon. If you remember Drumline, where Nick Cannon couldn't read music, but like if he saw you play, he would go.
He learned by ear. That's how I learned piano.
I got it.
Jay, that's Jay.
Yeah.
You watch it, he'd watch it, boom, no problem. I got it.
Okay, I got it. Run it again. One more time. Run it again. Okay, I got it.
This show's going to throw a lot of people who think they know what they're talking about for a loop, and I know this because I'm cool on the basketball side, but I remember, I'm friends with Coach Jackson, and when he would like show a talk about a play or like show.
I love to hear y'all talking football, Todd. I love to hear that.
Well, you came on the show that day. Remember, he has like the playbook's like this thick, and when they start reading through the playbook and talk about like each thing that needs to go on the football field, you're like your head explodes, and that's when I knew like, okay, I know basketball. I did not know nearly as much about football as I knew, and that was the best year of my life that I spent with him, learning all that stuff. Was amazing. But I hope I got 25% of all the stuff he showed me because there was so much.
To listen to when James was explaining the inbound play, my wheels are turning because I'm immediately thinking when he said you're standing in front of the inbound and you're going 1001, 1002. I'm thinking to myself, that's exactly what I'm thinking, because at 1003, the inbounder, he's under duress, so he's got to get the ball in bounds. So if you cut this water off, well, what other water does he have left? He's got to hurry up and think, I got to get the ball in bounds. Well, the guy that's standing behind him, go right to him. More than likely, he's going to turn the ball over, or he's going to give the ball right to you. Because at 3, his senses are heightened. He's like, okay, I got it. He might look like he's cool, but at the end, he's like, all right, I got to get the ball in bounds. I got to get the ball in bounds.
Mm-hmm.
And that,
you have to get in his head about it.
Yeah. There was a great inbound defensive play that the Raptors ran back. I want to say it was late 90s, early 2000s when Sam Mitchell was the coach. Mm-hmm. And I'm surprised I've never seen anyone else do it again, but it was brilliant. So he had their center, tallest guy, right, like on ball to, reduce the inbounder's vision. And at the 3-second, he threw a second person on the inbounder, which is unheard of, but he figured that out too. So he have the one guy here, and now once he's under duress, a second guy comes running at him. The inbounder immediately gets nervous and just like and throws it, and it's a turnover. And I'm like, that's like one of the, like, no one would ever think to throw a second guy at him, but because it was at that 3-second point and he was already under duress, he just threw the ball away. And I'm like, that was brilliant. And I perfect timing. And I realized why maybe a lot of people don't do that is because now you have 2 guys that are open, so it's the chances. But I mean, like, it was so good in that moment, late in a game. So yeah, that's why when I was listening to him talk about that was the play that immediately bounced into my head, was that Sam Mitchell play, because I was like, yeah, that's rare.
I think it's really interesting too, because for me, I mean, I played in like middle school and it wasn't even, it was nothing. So as a fan, I guess I've always thought that's how everybody imagines the game. But even like I've seen basketball players coming out, like not professional, but like guys on Twitter and stuff saying like, this is incredible to learn this stuff. But you know what also is interesting is how in depth they go about the game. And I think, oh, sweet. Hi guys. And to like, I think you have to really love the game to watch that pod, because you're gonna, and I wonder how that's gonna impact, because so much of NBA media today is just this guy versus this guy, the drama,
it's agenda driven, narrative driven.
Exactly, but it was such a fresh, like, it was just so fresh to it was so fresh to like listen to that, and I learned so much. I still don't even understand half of it, but yeah. You think it's gonna be successful, Jay?
Yes, I do.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely.
LeBron is. Oh yeah, go ahead. You're probably gonna say the same thing I'm gonna say, so go ahead.
No, go ahead, Tone. I'm listening.
He's very well aware that he's in his final moments in the NBA, and he's gonna see. Hey, he's done the movies. We know he can do that. We know he has the production company. Podcast is a thing that like a lot of people are doing and being successful in monetizing. Good night. I love you too. And monetizing. So he's like, hey, can I do this? Will people listen to me? Because it's a positive and a negative. He's so smart when it comes to basketball. He knows the game so well, but will people listen to someone who speaks that intellectually about the game? So I think that's what he's doing. He's smart.
They will.
He pulls up JJ. Yeah, he pulls up JJ and he's like, hey, you already have this kind of thing down. Let me come with you, who already knows how to run a podcast, how to, the production stuff. And let me see if people will listen, because not everybody will listen to that high. Like, I remember, what was Kobe's thing? What was it called? Spotlight, I think it was, or Remember he used to. I just remember that he used to spotlight a player
Yeah.
but it wasn't that popular because he was talking so high, like
Right.
so detailed about plays.
That's what it's called, detail. That's what it was called, detail.
Yeah, people
was called
were
detail.
like they didn't understand it. It was so you had to have a super high IQ, and so as I loved it, I was like, damn. It just I don't think it was as popular, and maybe podcasts weren't as popular. It might have been the time of in our lives that it just wasn't as popular, anyways. But that was I loved watching the detail.
No,
I think the difference now is because podcasts are going, it's basically the wave of the future, and to have these guys as accessible as they are, to have a guy like James and another guy like JJ Redick, who's not the comic relief, but he's more of the James is the smart guy. JJ Redick is the JJ Redick is the smart guy too, but he's the smart guy who I'll explain it to you. I'll dumb it down for you, as opposed to James being the high level basketball player.
That's
JJ Redick is the. I'm okay. This is what this means. Instead of a slip screen means that a guy comes to you and act like he's going to set a screen and he goes away, as opposed to James going in depth about a slip screen. You're like, wait a minute, what the hell is that even mean?
You lost me.
Wait a minute, what are you talking about? That's who JJ Redick is. And to Tone's point, JJ Redick is a guy who I really enjoy his content because not only does he know the game, he's a lot more relatable than people give him credit for. A lot more relatable.
You know what I like? Listen, and let's be clear. Let's not confuse agree and like, because I don't always agree with JJ Redick, but I really like his content because the way that he kind of puts it out there for consumption is it's really well done. And he knows what he's talking about. Like I said, you don't have
that's why I respect him so much.
You don't have to agree with everything to like something, and that's where I think people have this like you know, I'm sure Haley, I'm sure you get it too. Like people disagree with me and they think that means they hate me, right? And they'll go in the comments, I want you dead. And I'm like, no, dude, why do you hate this person? I don't hate Gilbert Arenas. Shout out to Gilbert Arenas because I know that he watches. Shout out to Ticket. He was on Ticket's channel the other day. I don't hate Gilbert Arenas, but I do disagree with a lot of the things he says. And there's a difference. But yeah, I'm looking forward to the day. Tell me if this is crazy. And it might be. Because these guys have to retire at some point. So the new TNT crew is me. No. Is EJ or whoever's going to replace EJ. LeBron, JJ, and Draymond. I'm watching that show. I'm watching it.
And you guys know that the new
I love that show.
Stephen A. Smith, they're already like prepping him as Kenny Beecham. He's already like they're training him to be the next Stephen A. So that spot's already filled.
Yeah, I also feel like us too having stuff like the JJ Redick and James podcast, Gilbert Arenas, that steps our game up, right? Because we don't just see these guys and we're just kind of like fading in the background. No, that gives us the ability when we see stuff like that to step our game up. All right, we have to produce more content. We got to start talking about more in-depth stuff. And that's why what we do works, because what those guys are doing, they're coming from a different perspective. And the perspective that we're coming from is 3 different perspectives, as opposed to both James and JJ. They're coming from a basketball perspective. We're coming from a basketball perspective too, but we're also coming from the perspective of a fan.
Yeah, basketball fan, and for me, I try to make it entertaining too. I know people think I'm crazy sometimes, but I'm also coming from
you do.
I try to mix in the technical side with with Barstool. I try to bring right. I'm trying to.
I wish they could be a little bit more Barstool on YouTube, but
we can be a little more Barstool if you want to be a little more Barstool. Anytime.
Not on YouTube.
Hell yeah, we can. Hell yeah, we can. Did you hear what I just said about? Anyways, but it's the other thing is I will say this too. You say that it makes us step up our game. And I'm not just talking about us 3. I'm talking about PC, everybody as a whole. But I'll say as a we. we make them step up their game because I hear and you hear their shows and you see it's like, hey, we just talked about that 2 days ago and now it's their lead topic.
Yeah, I've
Right?
seen
Like,
that.
Biting my style. You biting my style.
Yeah.
When I see, I'm on the panel, and Shaq, top left Shaq, not O'Neal, Shaq, Olympiacos Shaq, says, hey, like, tell me about why you don't believe Wilt scored 100 points again, Fluent, like, break it down for me. And I break it down for him, and everyone has a good laugh, and it was entertaining, and it was factual, and it was entertaining. We all laugh, and Jay gets crazy, like, I hate when you do that, man. Jay gets all emotional. But guess what? Guess what comes out 2 days later? Everybody's talking about Wilt and the 100 points, and they're showing video that's fake, and right, like, don't think we don't influence and make them step up their game too. It goes both ways. It goes both ways, which I appreciate. I love that about, because that couldn't have happened in the past. That is not we couldn't sit around, at the barbershop and have that conversation and then hear it on the radio the next day. But now we can, which is, I think that's really cool. I think it's cool.
Yeah, it is. 100% it is.
And I think just for me, I think the tone is just refreshing. I mean, that's why I like our shows. Like, not that, I mean, I'm on it, but also I think and I understand that's maybe why we have less viewers at points, but it's a lot slower paced. But I love the way that you guys really dig into the game. And of course, when you guys are on the panel, it gets a lot more dramatic, and you have to talk about Dub's stupid takes. And no, I'm just kidding. But they are. Sorry, Dub. I love it. But there was, it just gets a lot more of these stupid narratives versus I like to hear just quiet discussion of like these intricate things. I feel like I shouldn't even be privy to from LeBron and JJ, like learning so much. I think it was just a breath of fresh air. So
it's like a behind the scenes kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. It was dope. Yeah. It was dope. All right, FIFA, I'm dropping the link. You better get up here because I know you're.
He don't ever show up, man. He always asks to drop the link and then he'll never show up, man.
No, he never shows up.
Never shows up.
He said it's okay. He's embarrassed. He said he's a little nervous, so
he's shy.
Then stop asking for the link. Don't ask to dance, and don't ask if you're gonna play my song, but then ask.
He's asking. I think because it's a member only chat, he's asking for those non-members to give them an opportunity to jump on and speak their piece. That's what I think. Ox is always in the chat. Ox is always giving him too much credit. Ox always has to leave every time he's about to come on because I think Ox is a little intimidated too.
Ox, you have beef with FIFA?
What?
No.
Oh.
No, I just Ox always says he's coming on, and then he's like, I got a plane to catch. Oh, there's
Ox is a busy man.
There's a Mexican stray dog that I have to go save. Like
Oh,
that is Ox, yo.
Dog getting the homework.
Yep. That is Ox for real. We had that.
for real.
We had a conversation earlier today where we were talking about the future of Anthony Edwards and two-way players. We were talking about two-way players, and Ox made it his business to invite De'Aaron Fox into the conversation.
Of course he did. Where he does not belong.
Yes, just off the strip, he's going to invite. He's just going to invite De'Aaron Fox into the conversation. And now I got to start talking about.
He's this close to me calling them the Kansas City Royals from now on.
And now I got to start talking about De'Aaron Fox like I don't want to, even though I dig De'Aaron Fox. But now I got to start talking about him in a different way because I'm like, wait a minute, Ox. He ain't like that.
He ain't on that tier with Ant.
No, he's not that. I ain't saying that he in the top 5 point guard because I do believe that. I can't name 5 league guards in the game better than him. However, when we start talking about two-way players, which is what the conversation was about, I don't think about Anthony Edwards and De'Aaron Fox at the same time. No, those two guys do not come to mind.
Hold on. Let me just say one thing though to Ox, okay, who fights crime in downtown Portland. Fighting crime is not stopping those women from buying those special shaped eclairs from Voodoo Donuts, my friend. That is not considered fighting
that's
crime.
The least of our worries.
It might actually be crime. It might actually be.
Is it a crime?
Yeah, that might be a crime for those chicks because you see what happens when they keep eating them. So
do you know the shape I'm talking about that they're in?
Yes.
No.
I do.
H knows, she's in Portland.
Yeah, sadly, I do.
Say it's below the waist and above the thigh of a man. That they're shaped.
No,
Portland's a beautiful city, but
love
Portland.
It's
I'm not gonna lie though, I get seasonal depression like legitimately. I don't really believe in a lot of like I don't know. I think mental health is like you can handle it yourself if you like take care of yourself for the most part. But I do think that seasonal depression really can come from the lack of sun for 8 months of the year. And so we're finally getting some warm weather, which is nice. So I sort of feel alive. But thank you for being a superhero, Ox. We appreciate you. We need you. We do. All right, FIFA. Well, another day where you just didn't come up on stage. We gave you the opportunity. Maybe a late, but I, you know, it is what it is. Yeah. Okay. Any last thoughts, you guys?
If anyone comes on right now, I'll stay late. If not, then it's time to.
Now or never, FIFA.
Deuces.
It's now
Deuces.
or never.
Shut your damn mouth.
Deuces.
Sorry, Rock.
Okay. Yep. All right. Almighty's here, so that's our cue. Just kidding. Appreciate you guys. Almighty Lambo. They're gonna give Jay a hard time. So, all right, you guys. Appreciate you all, and we'll see you next Tuesday. Jay,
put on a suit. Drink water. Don't drink and drive. Call your mother. When last time you talked to your mother? Call your mother.
You said nothing about my coffee.
I didn't. You know why? Because I'm sick of it, Tone. I'm tired of every time I see something. I'm still not getting a cappuccino. I'm sick of you, Tone. Until later. Take it light, but take it.